Good morning, Stampers. Happy Friday. I hope you are all staying warm with this really long stretch of cold weather that we've been having. Let's see here. I am excited that it is a long weekend here. 3 days of no driving kids to school. Okay, just gonna update my screen here. See your comments. Be sure to say hi as you join in. Good morning, Mary Liz. Okay, make sure my sound is off so I'm not hearing myself talk. I can't remember where I was the other day. Oh, I think I was with another group of demonstrators and somebody was commenting on rewatching a video of hers. Good morning, Christine. And she said, do I really sound like that? I make a point of not rewatching my videos because I don't want to hear how I sound to everybody else. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So I apologize for not being here last week and not even doing a video. I know I had mentioned in my last live, good morning, Kathy, that I was going to try to post a video, but that didn't happen. Life got away from me. I ran out of time. So unfortunately something had to give and that was it. So if you remember 2 weeks ago, I was live and we created these 3 cards. So the same products basically, and just each one stepped up just a bit. So I'm gonna draw for those. Good morning, Shara. So remember to get entered, good morning, Shirley. To get entered to win this week's prize, you can comment on the Facebook Live or the replay. Or you can share. You get 5 entries for sharing. And when I upload it to YouTube, for those of you who are watching afterwards, because I know not everybody's on Facebook, you can comment on the YouTube video as well. And I always look for comments there. Okay, so I've got everybody's name in here. And the lucky winner this week is Lois T. So I don't think you've won yet, Lois. So I will contact you and get your email or your snail mail address so I can pop those in the mail for you. So congratulations. Out of the way. All right, good morning, Barb. Good morning, Shirley. Okay, I'm gonna flip the camera around because I have got a ton to share with you today. All right, and we'll go ahead and get started. Now, it's been 2 weeks. Let me see if I remember how to do this. There we go. Okay, just give it a minute for my screen to catch up so I can see what you guys are seeing. Okay, there we go. Now I can see the comments. And that is incredibly crooked, isn't it? Is that any better? Or is that worse? That is worse. Maybe I should just flip. Good morning, Andrew. Okay, well, you know what? It is what it is. I apologize if it's really crooked, but okay. So today, February 15th, marks the middle point of celebration. So the last few years, what Stampin' Up! Has done is they've come out with a second release of celebration products. So beginning today, there are 3 new products that you can choose from. So there is the All Adorned Stamp Set, which is this one here. There is a beautiful dynamic textured impressions embossing folder. It's called Country Floral, which is really hard to see in the picture, but my friend Donna said that it is absolutely stunning. I don't have it yet. It will be something that I pick up for free today when I place my order. And then this is my favorite. I absolutely adore this Painted Seasons bundle. So let me show it to you in person here. Okay, so this is the stamp set. And you'll see that it's like one of our distinctive stamp sets. So it's got such beautiful detail. And you know, if I'm completely honest, I have not been a huge lover of some of the distinctive stamps because I found them really hard to work with. This one, you are going to love it. Wait until you see how simple it is. And today we are going to play with different ways to ink up these images. I want to share with you kind of some different ways that you can do it and how they turn out, how they end up looking, so that you guys can decide what look you like the best. So the bundle includes the stamp set and this stunning patterned paper. So you get 3 sheets of each of this patterned paper, and it is meant to be an all-season bundle. So it can be used all year round. So this one obviously is a little bit more holiday season. This one is spring, summer, and then my favorite, I love the mushrooms. It's more of a fall feel. And then the backs are just as pretty. So, and they're generic, so you can use them for anything. Okay, so that's the bundle. And then, so those are the 3 new Celebration second release products. And then come March, for customers, there will be some products that will be released that coordinate with the products that are both in the second release and the first release. Barb loves the mushrooms too. Yes, it's so pretty. So I wanted to share those products with you. Now, these are not available to customers right now, but Andrew says he loves the top one. So the Christmassy one, the one with the pine cones, that one's really pretty too, and I love the pine cone stamp set stamp that's in that set. Okay, so these aren't available to customers at the moment, but unless you decide to purchase the starter kit, you can add these items in as part of your starter kit if you decide to go that route. And you know that at the beginning of the Celebration catalog, it shares 2 different options for purchasing the starter kit this month. So option 1 is $225 worth of product, but you only pay $135, no GST and no shipping on that. So that's a great value. Option 2 is still $225 worth of product for $175, but you get this fabulous craft and carry tote as well, which is valued at $68. So you get a deal on that as well, okay? All right, so these items, like I said, they coordinate with current Celebration items. So we've got framelets that coordinate with the lilies, the cupcakes, the frogs, and then there are framelets that coordinate with the Painted Seasons bundle, and I did have them here. Here we go. So these framelets coordinate with this stamp set. So if you do end up picking up this bundle, then you'll want to make a note that next month you'll definitely want to pick up these framelets, okay? Because they'll be available March 1st. And then there is a stamp set and a punch. The punch is meant to coordinate with the stamp set, but all of these words in this stamp set work well with these with the stamps that are in the Celebration offering and these framelets. So you can see that today calls for something sweet with extra sprinkles on top. That's kind of meant to go with the cupcake set. Hopping by, jumping in, that's meant to go with the frame set. The bravery, that's kind of meant to go with the lilies. So it's just, they've just added a bunch of products that kind of work well with the current Celebration offerings, okay? So I wanted to point that out. Just a reminder, these aren't available to order until March 1st and only available until the 31st. Okay, all right. So today, I'm not gonna share what we're making just yet. I wanted to take one of the stamps from the stamp set. So we are gonna use this succulent image. And the reason we're using that is because it was mounted from my stamp class last night, and I just figured let's make it easy and we're just gonna use that. And it is one of my favorite. I love the succulent and the pine cones from that set. And we are gonna play with a few different things. Okay, so Sue Weir, she had commented in one of my previous posts. I had stamped this for the very first time. It's the first time I had seen ink. I stamped it and posted a picture on how amazing it looked. And she commented and she said, well, how can I get an ombre look with that? So I thought we would play around and see kind of how we can get different looks or add different colors of ink to this stamp. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, Peggy. Okay, so let's do just the Call Me Clover. So I'm just gonna ink it just with the Call Me Clover and just stamp it so you can see what it looks like. look at that detail. It just pops off the page. It's so stunning. Now, when you use these detailed stamps, there are a couple things that you should note. Your ink pad kind of has to be inked just the right amount. So what I suggest is ink up your stamp, stamp it, see what it looks like. If you're not getting that detail or it looks blotchy, then take one of our palette knives or even just a plastic knife. Just don't use the serrated edge on the plastic knife, and just scrape some of the ink, gently scrape some of the ink to the one end of your ink pad. That will move some of the excess ink off to the side, and then when you re-ink it, you should get a beautifully stamped image, okay? The other thing is if your ink pad is not inked well enough. So if it's really, really light and you want it to be a little bit darker, I mean, just know that it's not gonna get super dark because, I mean, it's not meant to. There are areas in that stamp that are not meant to be really well inked. So if your ink pad is not inked well enough, then what you need to do is you need to re-ink it. So just put your ink on, take your palette knife and spread it nicely so that it's not obviously concentrated in certain areas where you've dropped the ink. And then what I would suggest is I would suggest that you leave it overnight before you stamp it again. I know that's not super convenient, but maybe pick a different color for the project that you're working on today, because I had done that with my pumpkin pie ink and then used the leaf image, and I spread it and it was okay. But when I went back and played with it again the next day after letting it sit overnight, I got much more detail because it gives it time for the ink to soak in a little bit, into the ink pad a little bit. Okay, so those are some of the tips when you're using distinctive stamps. Okay, so let's open these other colors here. Okay, we gotta clean this. Where's my cleaner? Use a scrap piece of paper. Okay, I always like to stamp my stamps off on scrap paper before I use my chamois to clean them, because it keeps your chamois cleaner for longer. Okay, so now I've cleaned it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ink it in the lemon lime twist, and we're gonna do a technique called rock and roll. And I haven't tried this with this stamp yet. A lot of what I'm doing today, I'm just winging it. Okay, so I've inked it in the lemon lime twist, and then I am just going to roll the edges in the Call Me Clover and stamp it down. So can you see that? So that gives you the outer edges in a little bit of a different color. Okay, so now stamp off, and we are going to ink it. Oh, what else did I do? I was playing with it this morning. Okay, actually I'm going to ink it with the lemon lime twist, and then I'm gonna take a finger dauber and I'm gonna add some Call Me Clover just in the center. I'm gonna give it a little huff. That just kind of re-moistens it a little bit. And that adds just a little bit of the green in the center. So it looks like you've used a couple different shades of ink. Now on the card that we're using today, what we're gonna do, or what we're creating today, what we're gonna do is a little variation of this. So I'm going to ink it with the Call Me Clover. And then when I think of succulents, I always think of green with a little touch of purple. So I'm gonna use the rich razzleberry and a different finger dauber, and I'm just gonna go around the edges. And then I'm going to stamp. And the purple is not really, really obvious, but it does change up the color. Okay, now let's try that same technique with the purple, except let's ink it with the lemon lime twist first. Okay, so I'm gonna ink it with the lemon lime twist, And then I'm going to use my finger dauber in the rich raspberry and go around the edges. As you guys are watching, if you want me to try something, please just pipe up and comment. Okay, so here with the lighter green, you can tell that that's a little bit more purpley. Okay, the other thing that I tried, actually I tried something else this morning because I wanted to see if it worked. I can't remember what color I used, but I'm gonna do the Call Me Clover, and then I'm gonna take the purple. I'm gonna add a little bit around the edges, but then I also want to add some in the center. And then stamp that down, and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so that looks pretty good too. I must have used the lighter green this morning. So that looks pretty good too, because when I did the lighter green and I added the purple around the edges and then also in the center, it ended up being all purple. You couldn't really see the green anymore. I do like the look of that though. That looks really nice. Okay, and then another thing that I have not tried is I have not tried markers with this kind of stamp. So we're gonna give that a shot. Look at all those beautiful flowers, or succulents, I guess. Okay, one other thing is Sue had asked about an ombre effect, and we have what we call spectrum pads. So they are uninked ink pads, and they've got, I don't have any here to share with you, but they've got 4 or 5, maybe even 6, I think there might be 5 different ink pads, and you can ink them in any color. So you can ink them in several different colors. So you could do an ombre effect with that, and then ink up your stamp, and that's how you could get an ombre look on an image like this. But again, you want to make sure that they're inked just right with that. Okay, so like I said, I have not tried markers with our distinctive stamps, so we are going to give it a shot. Let's stick with the greens first. So I'm going to do Lemon Lime Twist, and I have no idea how to even do this. Okay, so when you use our Stampin' Right markers, if you guys don't use them very often, you want to use them at an angle and color on the stamp. You don't want to use them like this because that will cause your marker to fray the tips, or the tips to fray. Oh, you can feel the texture when you're coloring. I don't know how well this will work. We'll have to see. Okay, and then let's try adding a little bit of color. A little bit of color. I don't know if we should go around the edges or try to go in the tips. Let's just try. I'm experimenting here. I have no idea how this is gonna look, so I'm just going over the tips of the petals and adding a bit of green. And we'll see what it looks like. Okay, I'm wondering how dark that's probably going to be really dark. I wonder if we tried to blend it. What color did I ink it with? Did I ink it with Lemon Lime Twist? Yeah, oh yes I did. I used this one, right? Let me think here, because I think that's going to be a bit harsh. I am going to take another finger dauber, and I'm just going to dab this a little bit. I don't know if it'll make a difference or not. Actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll dab on a little bit of ink. Kind of probably defeats the purpose of using the marker, right? But let's see. Oh, actually, that looks quite nice. What do you guys think? I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, and then Mary Liz suggested, and she tried this last night, what she did was she had stamped her image, and then she took a Stampin' Blend in, I think she had used a pink, and she colored the tips. That's not pink. I'm just grabbing my pink marker here. Okay, and then she had colored the tips with the pink. So let's try this guy. So it just changes the color just a touch. There. So it just adds a few more highlights. And she chose this color because she wanted it to match the DSP that we were using. So that's why she chose Petal Pink. You could do purple if you wanted a little bit of purple, like maybe the Highland Heather, the light Highland Heather might look quite nice with that as well. So that's another thing that you can try. Barb doesn't like the Petal Pink. I actually really like the Petal Pink. It's one of my favorite pinks. But yes, it is a little bit more orange. It has an orange hue to it. Okay, Shara asked, when you use the Stampin' Blends with the regular ink, does it pick up the green ink as well? Oh, that's wrong end. No, it didn't pick anything up off there. So, and it didn't even, actually, even if you look here, like you can still see that detail underneath where I colored, so it didn't smear it, so you're good. Okay. So those are some of the ways that you can add color, and I encourage you to play around with it. I'm sure you could get some really, really pretty looks, like especially when you do the flower and you switch up some of the colors, you could get some gorgeous looks. You could do brown in the center, and then have some dark shadows around the center, and then really light on the outside. The pine cone, you could do it in brown and then add some dazzling diamonds so it looks like you've got snows added to it. I mean, there's so many options. Okay, so I encourage you to play around, but I wanted to show you just how beautifully these stamps stamp. They really are quite amazing, and I have now been converted and might actually consider buying some of the other distinctive stamps that we have. We'll see. This one is absolutely stunning though. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the project that we're making today. So let me move some of these things out of the way. We are going to need these inks, so I might as well leave those out. Okay, so today we are going to create a version of this card. I'm gonna make a couple changes on it, not very many. So I made this card I made a few of them actually, for anybody who signs up this month. I am going to send them this welcome card. And so we're going to use one of the techniques that we talked about today. I'm going to add something else in the back, and then I'm going to change up the greeting, since this will be what I give away for anybody who comments. I don't want to do a welcome card. I will do probably a different greeting. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me tell you what I have here in case you want to recreate that, or recreate the card. I've got a piece of rich raspberry cardstock that measures 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I've got 2 pieces of Whisper White. They both measure 4 inches by 5 1/4. One will be for the inside and one will be for the outside. Good morning, Amy. Oh, and you're from Alberta. Hello. And then I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and this is just a scrap piece so that I can stamp my focal point. I've got a piece of patterned paper, this beautiful patterned paper, that measures 3 by 4 inches. And then I've got a strip of rich raspberry for my greeting that measures about 1 1/4 inches by however long you want it to be. And then I've got a piece of self-adhesive or multi-purpose adhesive strips that measures a little bit smaller than this. So I think this is about 1 inch. Okay, and then I've got some rhinestones. So that's what you're gonna need if you want to recreate the card. Now let's set that aside. Okay, we'll do the big shotting afterwards. So we'll set that aside. We need this and we need this for right now. Okay, so, and our envelope. We're gonna do all our stamping first. Okay, so for this card, we are going to ink with the Call Me Clover. So for those of you who are joining late, we are using the Painted Seasons bundle, which is in the second release celebration catalog. Okay, and then I'm using Rich Razzleberry and my finger dauber, and I'm just gonna go around the edges. And I'm going to stamp that on here. That's gonna get cut out. And then I'm gonna stamp off. I'm not gonna worry about cleaning because I'm gonna be using the same color, but I do wanna get some of that excess ink off. And I'm going to ink again. Do the exact same thing, and I'm gonna stamp in on the inside. Because while you've got your stamps and ink out, you might as well decorate the inside of your card and your envelope, right? Okay, so I'm gonna stamp that in the corner here. Oh man, it's so pretty. Okay, stamp off. And then we're gonna do it one more time so that we can stamp our envelope. Does anybody have any plans for this weekend? Is it a long weekend in the States? Actually, it's Family Day weekend. I don't even think everybody in Canada gets Family Day weekend, do they? Or do they now? I know at one point not everybody got it. Okay, so now I've got my envelope decorated as well. Okay, so now we're done with the purple. A closer view of the, yes, I can show you a closer view of the flower. So that's it. Is that better, Amy? That detail is absolutely stunning. Here's the stamp set, in case you haven't seen it yet. So painted season, it's meant to be used all 4 seasons. So we've got a flower in here, a succulent, a couple leaves, a pine cone. And then there's DSP to coordinate with it. This is the DSP. Again, a pattern for each season. And then here's the back of the DSP. Okay, so hopefully that gave you a better view of that. Barb says she's got a baby shower and game night with dinner at her parents' place. That sounds nice. I think we're going to my parents on Monday. And then Ethan has robotics. Well, he's got robotics every Saturday. He's got a tournament next weekend, so. Okay, so clean my stamp, and now I'm gonna pull in the leaf. So this is the leaf from the same stamp set, and I'm gonna use the same technique, except this time I'm gonna ink with the Lemon Lime Twist, and I'm going to take my Call Me Clover, and I'm just going to add, just at the base of each of the leaves here, just a touch of that darker green. And look at that. It just adds just a little bit of shadowing. It just gives it so much more depth, just adding that second color in there. Not that these stamps need more depth. I mean, seriously, they're beautiful just in one color. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 of those. All right, and then we are done with our inks for now. So we'll close those up, and I will bring in the Big Shot. Okay. All right, so we are going to use the framelits. So some of these images, we do have 2 of them. So this the little leaf that's in there, you have 3 that you can cut out. This one actually has 2. And then there's 2 for the bigger leaf, 1 for the pine cone, 1 for the flower, and 1 for the succulent. So we're gonna use these 3. And then we are going to use our rectangle stitched framelits, and we are using number 9. So it is, I number them. I started with the smallest and then worked up with these ones, and then from inside out. So it will be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th largest size. That one fits right in there. Okay, so that's the size that I'm using. All right, let's bring in the Big Shots. Excuse me. Okay, so we will do these guys first, if I can get them all lined up. Okay, this does match. Okay, let's think about this here. I think this goes this way. There we go. Okay, so we've got that. And then, oh, I gotta stand up. Make sure I'm seeing from the top to make sure it's lined up straight. Okay. All right, so we'll feed that through, cut those images out, and then we'll do our rectangle. Okay, so this is my other piece of Whisper White cardstock, and remember how, if you guys have watched my videos before, how I recommend when you're using these framelits, don't feed them in parallel to your Big Shot. You want to have one corner going in first. So I've got my cardstock at an angle, and I'm just gonna center it. I've got a little bit of pull there. Okay, I think that looks good. Then I'll feed that through. And then while I'm here, I am going to, let's decide what word we're gonna use here. I think I'm gonna do thanks. So I've got the Well Said bundle, and that includes the well-written words. So you get all of these scripty words, so many great ones. So that's where I got the welcome from. But we are gonna do thanks. It's also got a couple of these images. These little birds are so cute. Amy asks, why at an angle? Because when you put it through straight on, I don't know the reasoning why, I find that sometimes one of the sides doesn't cut, and it makes some terrible noises. It doesn't do any damage to your Big Shot, but I find that you don't always get a nice even cut. Like sometimes you'll have to take your snips or you have to pass it through again. So by going this way, it doesn't even have to be a really strong angle, but just feeding one of the corners through first, it works every time. And that works for squares too. Okay, so I've got my thanks, and I am just going to cut a piece of this because I don't need the whole strip. So, and you guys have seen me use these before. I love these self-adhesive strips for these words so that I don't have to be fussy with Tombow glue or a fine tip glue. So you just peel off the backing, stick it on, flip it over. So remember that your cardstock is always face up, okay? And then put that on there and feed that through. Okay, and now we've got all our Big Shot pieces done, and I can move this out of the way. Okay, so let's pop this out first. So this you'll save and use for something else. Now we've got our little window. So I am going to stick this piece to the back of that. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of adhesive around the edges of the back of the window. And then I'm gonna stick this on. Okay, so that's our window. And then we've got our flower and our leaves. Oh my gosh, I just cannot get over these. The detail on these, I just love them. Okay, so one thing, remember I had mentioned that I wanted to make a couple changes to this card. So one thing I want to do before I stick my flower on is I am going to add a bit of adhesive, and I want to use some silver thread to do a little bit of a I don't know what those are called. You know, the little cluster of ribbon in behind, or twine in behind your image. Okay, which way do I want this going? So I just wrap it around my fingers and then stick it on like that. Let's see here. Amy says, it's kind of funny the products you are using today, as I just ordered all but the word dies. Can't wait. Yes, I mean, they're stunning. They really are. Okay, so see, that just adds a little bit of something behind it. So now I'm going to use dimensionals, and let's cut around the edges here. And I'm gonna stick one right in the center. add that on here, just like that. And then I want to tuck my leaves underneath, so I found that if you snip the stems just a little bit, and I use my bone folder to curl them up just to give them a bit more dimension. And these ones are going to go on flat, so just add a little bit of fast fuse and tuck this underneath like that. And then this underneath here, like so. And then we're gonna add our word. So that just pops out like that. And I have a paper piercer here somewhere. Let's pop out these pieces that we don't need. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna peel off that vacuum, make sure all the pieces that I don't need are gone. And let's just lift this up. Do I want it there or do I want it in the center? I think I want it down lower. Stick that on, see? And I didn't have to fuss with any messy glue. Those multi-purpose adhesive sheets, I tell you, they're the bomb. Okay. I've got my card base, just a standard size card base. And on my original one, I had done it flat, but I think I'm going to add dimensionals just to pop it up a little bit more. Sometimes you create a card and it's just, you know, you love it, but you want to make a few changes the next time you make it. So I whipped this card up this morning, the sample card up this morning when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do today. And so I didn't have time to recreate it, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it live. I knew what changes I wanted to make, so it was easy enough. Okay, so we've got some dimensionals on the back, and I'm just going to center that like that, and then we're going to add some rhinestones. Something attached to this one. Okay, so we will add one here, one over here, and then another one up here. Okay, isn't that pretty? So pretty, and it's so simple. So of course you could recreate one of this card in for each one of those focal points. You could do one with the flower, you could do another one with the pine cone, you could do one with a cluster of leaves. I'll share how I did an alternate version of a different card in a minute. So this is the inside. We stamped that flower when we had the stamp out. I just want to add a greeting, and I think I want to pull in some more of the rich raspberry. So I'm going to stamp it in rich raspberry. And the greeting is from the Well Said stamp set, and it says, thoughtful, kind, generous, that's you. So I'm going to stamp that. I guess I could have flipped over the stamp. I keep forgetting that the labels are now on the back of my stamps. Are you guys loving the cling mount stamps? I love them. Okay, I need to stand up for this. Okay. So that'll go on the inside. And pop that in there. And now we've got a pretty inside and a pretty outside and a pretty envelope. So there we go. So there's today's card. Now I wanted to share with you another card that I made. This is one that we did last night at my card class. Amy loves the cling mount, yes. Okay, now I should probably take these out of the plastic because I don't know. You guys might see the reflection. Oh, I guess let's turn it around right. Okay, so this is one that we did at last night's stamp class. So we used the succulent, of course, used one of the leaf embossing folders in the background, and then used the Well Said bundle. And then I showed alternates for the 4 seasons. So we did, or I showed Christmas. So different embossing folder. You could still use the same embossing folder. So use the pine cone and then some words on there. And then we have, oh my gosh, how crooked is that? Okay, and then we've got one for fall, so a thank you card. And I did the cluster of leaves with the mushroom DSP. Still the same leaf embossing folder behind. And this is, again, from the well-written framelits. And then this one's more summery, and I did it as a sympathy card. So use the floral paper, still the leaf embossing folder in the background, and then use the flower as the focal point. So you could do exactly the same thing with this card and create one for each of the different seasons as well. I can't get over how beautiful this painted season stamp set is. I absolutely adore it. So I can't wait to see what you guys create with it. I would love to see what you create with it anyways. So feel free to share when you do make something with it. And I think that's it for today. I hope you guys stay warm this weekend, and hopefully you have time to get a little crafty. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.